It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the Movie Time podcast with your hosts, Low-Key Geek Renee Zalata and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
What's up, everybody? The Movie Time podcast is back. Apologies for the major kind of delay, or kind of like hiatus, I guess you should say. But I'll get into all of that stuff, why there hasn't been a new episode in about a month now. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's been that long since I posted a new episode of Movie Time. If you follow Low-Key Geek on the YouTube channel on YouTube, you'll know that I've been, uploading stuff on a weekly basis. It's just for this particular podcast show, there hasn't been any new episodes within the last month, and for various reasons. And again, I'll get into that in a little bit. This is Renee here, your host. I am flying solo for this episode, but rest assured, Blake, my buddy, will be back for a brand new episode when that drops on its, for the foreseeable future, new drop date, which again, I'll get into that once I get into some of the house cleaning stuff. But I want to start off by saying thank you again for always watching and tuning in. If you are brand new to this is the Movie Time movie podcast, which basically is a podcast where two buddies, we call ourselves the Movie Bros, get together and we talk about movies, usually the new release of the week, or we touch base on a movie that we rewatched recently, and we just talk about our feelings and thoughts overall about the movie and how it made us feel and everything. As always, if you like what you hear and you want to help support this podcast and this channel, all you got to do is really just follow us on your podcast platform of choice, whatever platform that is you're listening to us on. If you happen to want to further go and support us, go find the Low-Key Geek YouTube channel. All the links, of course, are in the description. If you subscribe there, hit the notification bell and all that, you will see clips, full video clips of the episodes that we do here on the podcast. We are looking to launch a members tier on YouTube and on Patreon, depending on how you want to follow us and support us, where you could see full unedited video versions of these episodes that we record and we release on a weekly basis. So stay tuned. I should have all that information available within the next week or two. That being said, also, please make sure you also check out the affiliates that we've partnered up with in the description of this episode. It's through affiliates that we help get funding and support that helps this channel continue and help these episodes continue. So hopefully you'll find something that you gel with, and you can show your support by participating in either buying a product or, signing up for a service. We've also launched a merchandise shop called popculture.shop, where you could find merchandise not only related to the podcast. We will be getting Movie Time related merch up there shortly. For now, you can get some Low-Key Geek merchandise up there, but you will also find merchandise based off of just movie culture in general, movie culture, pop culture, all that stuff. So obviously, if you see anything that you like there, anything that you purchase for yourself or for people that you know, that will also go towards supporting this channel and the Low-Key Geek efforts and all that moving forward. So again, all the support that we've been getting, we are truly grateful, and we thank you so much for all of that. So before we get into the topics of this episode, and if you don't know, the topics will be one, I definitely want to talk about A Haunting in Venice, the latest from Kenneth Branagh, which is the most recent movie that I saw, and my prep for New York Film Festival, which I am proud to announce that Low-Key Geek, the channel itself, has been officially approved to cover the New York Film Festival this year for press-related reasons. So I'll be covering it for the Low-Key Geek channel on YouTube. And of course, we will be talking about it here on the MovieTime and the podcast channel. So I am so thankful and grateful for that. I'm very humbled and excited. And again, it's because of the efforts on YouTube and the amount of support that we've been getting on there. So again, I'm very, very thankful for all of that. And I'll be talking about my most anticipated films for the festival this year. But before we get into that, a couple of housekeeping. As far as the MovieTime podcast is concerned, one of the reasons why there hasn't been a brand new episode that's dropped within the last month is because, one, Blake has been traveling. He was on vacation in Cuba. In previous episodes, you've heard me mention that. He is finally back, and we just, whenever you get back from a long vacation, it takes you a while to kind of get antiquated and settle back in. It took him a while to kind of go back into his movie watching time. So we are slowly getting back there. We have already recorded an episode that will be launching on its official launch day, which will be Sundays moving forward. Moving forward, expect brand new episodes of MovieTime to launch on podcast formats every Sunday. Time, we're always aim for the mornings, hopefully by noon, if not that. So definitely check out new episodes of MovieTime to launch on Sundays. And then, like I said before, on YouTube, you will find clip outs that will launch, aiming for Mondays right now. But usually I like to sprinkle them throughout the week. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will find clip outs of portions of the episode to be kind of released on the YouTube channel there. But yeah, like I said, Blake has been traveling, but also it was the end of summer. So there are a lot of things that I've been kind of working on myself and kind of doing stuff, usual personal stuff like home fixing and repairing and cleaning and all that stuff like that. And, to be frank, just trying to find ways to get work. I, of course, would love to do this full time, but right now, we're not making the funds and the money to officially do that. So, of course, I've been doing things like picking up projects here and there to work on. And it's just been kind of like hectic for me. And also behind the scenes, I've been working on ways to kind of help improve the podcast, help improve on the YouTube channel. One of those things is trying to figure out ways to create membership tiers so that you can show your support and support the podcast and the YouTube channel in various ways. So I've been kind of like planning that out and hope to be launching that soon. Launching the merchandise shop was something that took some time too, because again, one of the things I always love to focus on is ways to connect with the community and showing our passion and fandom for what we love. And what better way to do that than t-shirts? I mean, I have been a huge fan of shirts. You've heard me talk about shirts, and one of the affiliates that we are partnered with, 80stees.com, is one of my favorite merch shops. So it's one of those things that I've always wanted to do by myself and launch myself. But of course, that involves how are you going to be doing that kind of makes you stand out above everyone else. So hopefully some of the unique ways to show love and fandom for movies and pop culture in general will shine through on the merchandise shop. You tell me. I'm always looking forward to hearing feedback on all that stuff. So of course that took some time. And, anytime you launch a new venture, whether it's, something on your own or you're teaming up with somebody, it takes time, right? And you need the time to actually sit down, plan it out, and make it work. So of course that took a lot of time. And that's one of the reasons, again, you haven't gotten a new episode. But moving forward, I feel like we're in a good space now. Blake and I have been ironing out like really strict scheduling so that we can make sure that we do these episodes on a very frequent and regular basis. And again, we're doing it, just because of our passion and love and how we love and enjoy to talk about movies and all that. And hopefully that shines through, and hopefully you can see and that all pretty much translates with whatever we do and whatever we put out there. So thank you again for your patience. And again, apologies for the absence of an episode. And hopefully, you'll be looking forward to some of the new content we have planned out. We're planning to do more filmversary kind of talks and episodes. We recorded one episode where we talked about 2 film anniversaries that will be launching on the channel soon. And also on YouTube, you could see the full video of that there. And, again, we're just looking for fresh ways to talk about the stuff that we love to talk about and engage with the community. So thank you again for all your support and for tuning in every week. All right, that all out of the way. Hey, no, I'm not Ryan Reynolds, but I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with the Mint Mobile ads that he puts out there, whether it's on TV, YouTube, social media, or what have you. And I'm sure a lot of you are very, wondering and very skeptical that how good is Mint Mobile? Is it really worth all the hype and all the, huge discounts every month and all the promotions and stuff like that? Well, I was very much like you. And late last year, I decided to take the plunge and try it out myself because I was honestly tired of paying so much money every month on my cell phone bill. I was a huge long-term Verizon customer, and I was paying $80 a month on my cell phone bill, which is ridiculous. Even given the fact that, I'm not really working a regular job like I used to. So saving money is important to me. But of course, I don't want to sacrifice quality in my cell service, especially when it comes to data and all that. So I decided to give it a shot. And I have to say, I am extremely pleased with the service I'm getting. I haven't noticed any drop in quality. And, for what I'm paying, I feel like I'm definitely getting more bang for my buck. And I want to be able to share that experience with you so that if you're in the same boat as I was, maybe it's time for you to give it a shot yourself. And right now, they have this amazing offer where you can sign up for them and you will be able to get 3 months unlimited data for $15 a month for your first 3 months. I mean, that is an insane discount. And I highly recommend you check it out and try it for yourself if you're looking for a change. Switching over from your cell, service is not going to be difficult. I did it it didn't take long at all to do it. As soon as I got the kit and my SIM card in the mail, I was able to switch it out and bing, bang, boom, all said and done. If you're looking for a new phone and you're happening to maybe eyeing one of those new Google Pixel phones, they have a special offer where you could save $200 on a brand new phone and receive 6 months of free service when you purchase a device and 6 months of service. So right now, I think is a good time more than any to give this a shot for yourself. So check out the link I have especially provided for you in the description of this video, this episode here, and give Mint Mobile a shot. And if you do, let me know what you think about it, because I was, again, pleasantly surprised and very happy with how everything turned out. But I think overall, I'm just happy to be saving a lot of money every month on my cell phone bill. And I think you'll be happy too. So Mint Mobile, check out the link in the description. And thanks for checking them out. Let's talk about a movie that I saw very recently. The last movie to come out last week, very recently, is Kenneth Branagh's latest installment of the Hercule Poirot series, the Agatha Christie series, and it was A Haunting in Venice. Now, again, if you are someone who has listened to the podcast or follow me on YouTube, you know that I am very adamant of how Death on the Nile was one of the worst movies I saw when it came out last year. It came out last year, right? Death on the Nile. I mean, it feels like it came out forever. But it came out in 2022. Of course, it stars Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot, which at the time, I will say, one of the things that I took away from that movie is that I loved how we really got more backstory on Hercule's character. That's one of the things that I was hoping that we were going to get more of eventually, but we never did. But I did love that aspect of the movie. And of course, it starred Gal Gadot, Letitia Wright, Armie Hammer. I don't know if it's safe to talk about him anymore these days. Russell Brand. Whew. Okay, this is very interesting because one of the things I mentioned when Blake and I talked about this movie, Death on the Nile, is how this movie seemed to have been kind of cursed with actors that just can't seem to get out of gossip hell. Armie Hammer, of course, with all the controversies revolving him and his family. It's very documented in a very well-known documentary. I highly recommend you watch it. It's called House of Hammer, I believe it's called. I think it's on Discovery, which you could also see on Max. So I definitely highly recommend you watching that if you are interested in knowing what this whole controversy is about. Letitia Wright at the time was also very controversial because of her stance on, COVID and the vaccine and all that stuff. And now Russell Brand, who just recently found himself in the gossip train with the sexual abuse allegations that's happening right now. Crazy, crazy stuff. And so this movie has just been really doomed for a while, and it was just a poorly done movie. I don't know if it was because of COVID, but a lot of the special effects were just so bad. And just overall, it was a slosh to watch through. And it was because of that and many reasons that I, put it as one of the worst films I saw in 2022. So it was surprising to me when I found that A Haunting in Venice was coming out this year, very soon after. Obviously this tragedy of a movie, and I wasn't sure what I was going to expect from it. Again, I do love Kenneth Branagh. I think he is a great actor, and equally, he's a very talented director. And I do like the character. The character himself was never a problem in these movies. It's the movies themselves and the execution usually would fall flat. I mean, I was a fan of Murder on the Orient Express, which was the first installment of the Kenneth Branagh Agatha Christie series, which I thought was well done. Then, of course, Death on the Nile came out, and I was hugely disappointed. And then now we have Haunting in Venice. And I will say this. If you look back at Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, I would say one of the things that really stands out is the ensemble cast. And usually it's a tier, like a high tier level ensemble cast. With this iteration, with this installment, A Haunting in Venice, yeah, you have big names like Kenneth Branagh. Michelle Yeoh is in this movie as well. Love her as an actress, obviously. You have Tina Fey, who was a surprise in this movie, I'll be honest. But I would say the rest of the ensemble is not, a mix of extremely well-known actors and actresses. If you are a frequent, TV watcher, streaming watcher, then probably a lot of these names would stick out. And you were like, oh, I recognize this person from so-and-so show or whatever the case is. I do not fall under that. So a lot of these people I am not familiar with. So I would consider this to be kind of a lower tiered ensemble cast compared to the other two movies. That being said, I think that's one of the reasons why this movie worked for me. It worked because I think there was not a lot of expectations from the people involved in the movie. Tina Fey, I wasn't sure what to expect from her, and she was one of the surprises for me in this movie. Her chemistry with Hercule, with Kenneth Branagh, was so nice and so refreshing. They were kind of like buddy-buddy, and they were like, yin and yang in a way. They really worked hand in hand together. Michelle Yeoh had a small role, but she was outstanding, of course, in it, as one would think. But people who surprised me were actors, people like Kelly Riley, who I'm not familiar with. I thought her performance was so well done. Jamie Dornan, again, someone I'm not so familiar with. Again, well done performance. Camille Cotin, someone again I'm not familiar with. A lot of great performances from people I personally am not familiar with. And I think that's one of the reasons why this movie worked. Another thing that really stood out for me, and I think that really I would put this as the main reason why I really enjoyed this movie, was the cinematography. The cinematography was so well done in this movie. I'm trying to see who the cinematographer is for this movie. It's someone named Haris Zambarlukas. I really hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Haris has worked on films called Venus in 2006, Sleuth in 2007, Mamma Mia in 2008, Thor in 2011. So that, I believe, is where he probably first worked with Kenneth Branagh, and he worked with Kenneth Branagh on Belfast. So that makes perfect sense to me. Belfast, again, was another great movie directed by Kenneth Branagh there. But it was his cinematography that really stood out. The setting in Venice, Italy, within itself, if you've ever been to Venice, Venice has a lot of alleys, a lot of tight-knit areas and corners. Of course, you have the canals. And if you work around that city at night, it tends to have a lot of mystery and intrigue, right? And for a storyline that kind of hovers around the supernatural, around thriller, horror in a way, you need something that really can call out on that. And the cinematography was so on board, where the angles it shot, you had Dutch angles here and there, but you really had wide shots or very close-knit shots, fast-paced shots where it would, quickly pan to another area when, you hear a sound in the distance, when you're trying to look at what someone's looking at, and then when someone's walking into a room for the very first time, you have kind of that ominous feeling of walking into something in the unknown. And the cinematography and the camera work really portrayed that so well. That mixed in with the sound design, I thought it was so well done. The experimentation with a lot of the camera lenses, you had a lot of extreme wide shots, almost to the point where you're teetering over the fish eye effect in a way, where they wanted to capture a lot of what was happening in the scene. And, they had a lot of dark shots, dark moments, and well-lit areas, well-lit profiles. So the cinematography, the camera work, the sound design was so brilliantly done that really added to the sense and feeling of the movie itself. And it really, really worked for me, and it really stood out for me. It put me in that mood that this is one of those mystery thrillers that kind of hovered around the supernatural. And, for the most part, a lot of it was well explained. There wasn't so much a supernatural aspect to it because, Hercule comes across as someone who is not easily swayed, not easily believed in the supernatural. And it's Tina Fey's character who, kind of entices him to kind of give this case a shot. And Tina Fey in itself plays a character called Ariadne Oliver, who is a crime novelist. So it's kind of funny how it's a kind of meta in a way, how Tina Fey kind of plays an Agatha Christie role, who is interacting with her own creation in Hercule Poirot, because you learn that Tina Fey's character uses Hercule as kind of a character in her stories and bases some characters in her stories, in her writing, off of Hercule. So that's why they kind of have this great relationship, this friendly relationship and all that. So, and plus you find Hercule in a position where he is, again, later in his life, and he kind of is retired. He doesn't want to take on cases anymore. He's still well known as his well-renowned Belgian detective. And you have people lined up in front of his offices and all that, kind of hoping they would take on a case that they, want him to take on and everything. And it's her that kind of takes him out of retirement for this intrigue of a mystery, kind of like a supernatural mystery. And of course, the funniest thing is that, he gets invited, and of course, everything takes place during Halloween, which I thought was also brilliant. And I love how, he's invited to this event where they're going to have a seance. Michelle Yeoh's character, she plays like the person who administers the seance, right? The character is Joyce Reynolds, who is supposed to be the psychic medium that, of course, Hercule is already very suspect about. And he, literally, not even before, or not even like 5 minutes after the seance begins, Hercule just puts a stop to it. And it's like, all right, I've seen enough. This is really what's happening. And he starts calling out stuff. Bam, 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 bam. And I thought that was hilarious and extremely brilliant. I really got a kick out of that. But of course, it takes a weird twist and turn where things just start going haywire and all that. And the true mystery starts unveiling. And now Hercule is extremely intrigued. And as he always does, he locks everyone in because everyone who is there could be part of it, and the main culprit could be one of the people involved in what's going on there. And of course, things unravel and all that, and the mystery is solved at the end of it. And the way the movie ends is that because of that, Hercule gets kind of reinvigorated. He feels that satisfaction again of what he did, what he was able to do. And he gets that, passion to be a detective again. And the movie ends with him kind of coming out of retirement and taking on the cases, starting with the people who have lined up, waiting for a moment, just a brief moment to talk to him and all that. And I thought it was such an enjoyable and well done movie. But it's not a movie that doesn't have its problems. And I think one of the problems I had was when the big, huge reveal came out at the end, it kind of fell flat for me. It suffered from like a third act issue that a lot of these movies sometimes suffer from, where you build and build and build to this major reveal and the major revelation that he has in store for you, and how he's gonna, all right, here's his final conclusion and what he's going to reveal to everybody. And it was kind of just like ho-hum in a way. It wasn't just like this big dramatic thing. It kind of felt flat. And I'm wondering why that was. Was it the tone at the time? Was it kind of the soundtrack cues that sometimes, kind of really help hone in and put like a big period on moments like that? And I think a lot of that really did fall flat for me, to be completely honest, which is unfortunate because, again, the majority of the film was great to watch and was really, really fun to watch. But yeah, unfortunately, that portion of the film fell flat. But then when it picked up to like the ending with Hercule going back to his home, opening up his offices once again, because he has that passion to be a detective, that was very cute and very sweet. And it ended in a good way. So overall, again, very enjoyable. I do love the fact that you feel you are on location, in Venice, unlike Death on the Nile, where you just didn't feel like you were anywhere. You knew everything was done on green screen, and it really, really took you out of it. So, when you have something that is a main character in a movie, which is your environment, and you don't feel like you're in that environment, that takes you out of it. Here, you really felt like you were in Venice. You really felt like you were in the building that they were in. The setting, the year of the setting is, I believe it was like 1969-ish. You really felt the period, the era. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And it's also funny too, because on Letterboxd, when I gave my review on Letterboxd, which by the way, anytime you want to hear or read what I think about a new movie that came out, the fastest way possible to do so, if you don't want to wait for like an episode of MovieTime or for one of my reviews on YouTube, is to check my Letterboxd, because that's one of the first stops where I kind of jot my thoughts down. And if you want to follow whatever I think about the movies I see at New York Film Festival this year, that's probably going to be the quickest way to do so. But anyway, little plug there. When I put my entry in Letterboxd, at first I rated it a 3-star. But I liked it. I hearted it because I did like the movie. After a day of thinking about it, I went back and I changed it and I gave it a 4-star because I really did like it. And then one of the things I said was that this is by far the best representation of Hercule that Kenneth Branagh has ever given, and probably one of the better directed movies that he's done in this franchise. I don't know if it's going to continue on from here. If it stays within this more grounded realm and this kind of way of filmmaking, I wouldn't mind seeing another iteration of this franchise, directed by Kenneth and starring Kenneth. But who knows? This could have been kind of his swan song, to be honest with you. But I enjoyed this movie a lot. September is usually a downtime when it comes to movies because we're just getting off of the summer movie season, and we're slowly building our way up into awards, full-on award season and kind of holiday movie season. So movies in general tend to perform low in the next month or two, especially when you're not a horror movie, with October just around the corner. But I highly recommend that you give this movie a shot because I really, really enjoyed it. And one of the things I told Blake when we recorded our episode, he didn't have a chance to see it. Death on the Nile really, really phased him, that he had no desire to watch the movie. I told him, give this movie a shot because I think he will be pleasantly surprised. So as always, I'm curious to hear what all of you think, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, because yeah, that was a very, very enjoyable film to watch, and it was just nice to see a well done kind of mystery thriller, a whodunit. I would love, oh man, and I know Ryan Reynolds is kind of attached to this right now. One of my favorite movies of all time is the movie Clue, the comedy whodunit movie, starring so many great people in that movie. You got Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, the list goes on and on. It's one of my favorite movies all the time because not only is it funny, but I love the format of the whodunit and the multiple possible endings and all that. I would love it if we get a chance to ever see maybe like a Kenneth Branagh tackle that type of movie where it's like a whodunit, kind of comedic in a way, and we know he can do comedy. I mean, this movie itself had a lot of great comedic bits, and do kind of like a whodunit, but with like multiple possibilities at the end. It doesn't necessarily have to be Clue, it doesn't have to be tied to that franchise, but I would love to see him do something like that. I don't know what's happening with the Ryan Reynolds version that he's working on. I'm sure because of the writer's strike and the actor's strike, a lot of that has been put on the shelf for now. But I would love to see just a newer version of that movie of Clue because it was just so much fun. And at the time when it came out too, and admittingly, I did not see this in theaters. I saw this for the first time on VHS. But when you saw this in theaters in the 80s, when it came out, depending on which movie theater you went to, you had a different ending. It was only until its release on home video that you saw all the possible endings tied together, like, put together, and then you got to see what was considered to be the real finite ending, right? But I think it would have been like a lot of fun, especially at that time where something like this is very nuanced, to go out to a theater and get a different ending every time you go see the movie. I mean, how fun is that, right? And, when you talk about Hollywood these days, we're coming off of a summer that did okay. It did well. If it wasn't for Barbenheimer, the 1-2 punch from Barbie and Oppenheimer, the summer would have suffered. And I think because of those two films, Hollywood had a decent summer, more decent than I'm sure you can compare it to last year and the year before, for sure. We saw that event films that really bring people out to theaters may be the way to go moving forward. If Hollywood wants to get people really back in theaters and throw their hard-earned money down. Because, again, and we've said this multiple times, where ticket prices are just ridiculous. And if you're going with multiple people, it gets extremely expensive, especially when you add concessions and all that. And, it's harder for families and people in general to justify going to movies, right? Unless there's someone like me who just are huge movie fans and we sign up for like one of those movie passes and all that. By the way, hint, if you are someone who maybe watches a movie once a month, so obviously like a movie pass situation won't make sense to you, but you do want to see movies and you want to save on a movie ticket, check out the link I have in the description for Fever. Fever has something called AMC. I believe it's called a black ticket, where you spend, I believe it's like $10 for a ticket that you could redeem for any movie that comes out in AMC theaters. It could be a new release. It could be a movie that's in theaters for a bit. It has to be 2D, so you can't see like a 3D movie, an IMAX movie, or what have you. But any movie, it will only cost you that price of what you paid for this black ticket, which I think is like $10. Now, for someone like myself who lives in New York, movies are $18 a ticket. So right there, you already saved $8, right? Plus service fees if you kind of book online and all that stuff like that. LA is not that far off. I believe it's kind of close to it. So if you are in an area where movie ticket prices are like $15 and more, then that could be a great way for you to save money. And the delivery of the ticket is instantaneous because it's electronic. So you get it in your email and you can redeem it when you book your ticket online and all that. So that's like a quick hint there. But yeah, I mean, event movies seems to be the way to go. You have Taylor Swift, who by far is probably the most, not only is she the hardest working musical performer as of right now, but she is probably the most prolific and highest earning musical performer because of her concerts this year alone. Multiple locations, multiple sellouts, all the amount of money she's been making on tour because of this concert. She's putting out a concert film based on the Eras tour that she's on. And that alone already, I believe the pre-ticket sales, went over the $65 million mark. Those are money. Those are like amounts that you see for pre-sale tickets for a Marvel movie, for like a superhero movie. And now it's projected that for opening weekend, her concert film may pull in over $100 million, which is phenomenal. But again, it's an event film, right? Those who couldn't see her concert, because from what I heard, it was almost impossible to get tickets. Sites were crashing, and all that. People who weren't able to see it are going to go see this film. People who love the concert so much, they're going to go see this film. And it's going to be people in droves. You're going to see the same Barbie crowd going out to see the Taylor Swift concert movie. I guarantee you. And if you look at theaters now, I took a photo of my local movie theater. And of course, you know the theater I go to because I mention it every time in every podcast. It's the Kaufman Astoria movie Regal Theater in Astoria, Queens. I was there when I went to see A Haunting in Venice. I took a picture of the lobby, and I put it side by side with the lobby in full peak Barbenheimer time, which is like a month and a half ago. And it's night and day. The movie theaters are so empty now. Because obviously the Barbenheimer lasted for a good month, which is a long time these days for that type of event, for that type of like intrigue and, thrill of going to the movies to see this well talked about and marketed movie, a series of movies, especially when you include Oppenheimer, which, by the way, for a biopic, from what I read recently, is the highest grossing biopic of all time globally, which is a crazy, it boggles the mind because it's a 3-hour long biopic, which you normally would not perform that well. But yeah, it's night and day. And, you see the theaters now, they're so empty. I'm sure things will pick up again in October once we get really a full breath of horror movies coming out and in the holiday movies and everything. But this Taylor Swift movie is going to bring tons of people to the theater. You're going to see Barbenheimer levels of people at the movie theaters when this movie comes out. I guarantee it. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time we're in right now. But yeah, that rant aside, if you were looking for something good to watch in the theater during this slow time, A Haunting in Venice could be your good go-to to check out and watch there, because I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but before we continue, I wanted to quickly talk about Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite coffee of choice to start off my mornings with. Why? Because it's clean coffee. What does that mean? Well, one, there are no chemicals in it. Why? Because they go through this multi-step process of making sure that all of their beans are fully clean and free of any chemicals, so that when you get the beans delivered to you, it is the pure beans, the pure coffee, the goodness that you've been wanting, the taste, the flavor, and the nutritional value as well, without worrying about any added chemicals or anything else put into the mix there. It also doesn't have that weird acidic taste that some coffees give you. I don't know how about you, but for me, some coffees kind of give me that weird sensation in my stomach, makes me a little burpy, and it kind of drags me down a little bit instead of really waking me up, which is something that I need from my coffee every day. Bulletproof also offers a lot of keto-friendly snacks and supplements, anything that you need to kind of add to your everyday nutritional needs, add to your diet, pretty much transforms the way you feel every day. So for a limited time, if you use this code that you see on the screen right now, LOWKEYGEEK, all caps, one word, you can get 15% off your order. So what is it better than that, right? Check out the link in the description of this episode. Use this code, get yourself your discount, and make your mornings a little bit more bulletproof with Bulletproof Coffee. Now, back to the episode. Moving on. Let's move on. Because, again, I am really excited for New York Film Festival. Some background on the whole New York Film Festival. So New York Film Festival is a film festival here in New York. It usually is around fall season or just the beginning of fall season. It is, it's been running now for 61 years. This is the 61st version of the New York Film Festival. It loves showcasing, obviously, a lot of more, I wouldn't say indie films, but more of the tier 2 with some tier 1 level movies. You're not going to get, obviously, your huge major blockbuster films like, Marvel films or what have you. But you will get major blockbuster films here on occasion. Joker, I saw at New York Film Festival. And I was lucky enough to see a nice Q&A afterwards that had Joaquin Phoenix and a director there talking about the movie. Scorsese usually is very celebrated at this festival. That's why it is to my surprise that Killers of the Flower Moon is not being screened this year. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it has to do with because it's an Apple film, and I don't necessarily see Apple films at New York Film Festival. I don't know if it's a partnership thing. Netflix is always well represented at New York Film Festival. I saw The Irishman at New York Film Festival. So Netflix is usually well represented. But yeah, it is like one of the major film festivals during festival season, during award season. You can put New York Film Festival up there with the likes of Telluride, Venice, Toronto, TIFF. The season usually kicks off with Cannes Film Festival, and then it kind of like, that's like the major start, and then it kind of goes on from there, usually. So New York Film Festival, also because it's my local major film festival, that, of course, you have the other New York Film Festival, which is Tribeca. Robert De Niro is usually attached to that. But that celebrates more of the independent films. And then, of course, you have Sundance, Robert Redford's helmed movie festival that takes place in Utah. But that starts the year off, so that usually is in January, February, and that also is more focused on indie films and all that. So yeah, when it comes to major film festivals, New York Film Festival is one of the ones out there. And it's one of the, since it is local, it's the one that I do attend every year. That's why I was so elated and really, really, really excited when, and this is only the second year I applied for press credentials. And when I got that email that I was accepted, I believed, I read the email on my phone, and I kind of dropped the phone and I kind of teared a little bit, and I was just so excited because it's my film festival. That is my film festival. That is the film festival that I go to religiously every year. And to be honored to cover it officially for a venture that I started on my own roughly 2 to 3 years ago, you know, in wanting to be kind of a movie pundit, someone who talks about movies, someone who shares and you know, displays his passion about movies and movie making out in public, and wanting to build a community around that. I couldn't be happier. And I'm hoping that it's a sign of things to come, you know, and I'm hoping to, you know, Blake will join me in this ride, you know, as we help further promote the MovieTime podcast, you know. So, of course, I'm super excited. So that's just some background on New York Film Festival that I'm really looking forward to. And this year, it's a very interesting year because obviously with the writers' strike and actors' strike, one great thing about this festival is that usually you get, you know, those involved in the movies to show up, and they'll do either an introduction to the film that you're watching, or they'll do a nice little Q&A afterwards, right? So it was really interesting to hear and find out who's going to show up. Directors can show up because the directors are not on strike, right? But also movies that are attached to more independent studios that aren't part of the AMPTP, like Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal. You know, those are like the major studios that the strikes are happening against, right? So A24, I believe Lionsgate is an exception. Those studios have had exceptions when it comes to promotions of their films. So I'm happy to see that it looks like we are going to get some people showing up. And I'm going to be there as much as I can to cover it all. So I'll be doing like kind of a diary of my days at the film festival. The official festival does not start until the 29th, but for press, for myself, I'm recording this on the 21st. It starts today. So my first film I'll be watching today, and it's All of Us Strangers, which stars Paul Mescal, Andrew Scott, Jamie Bell, Claire Foy. It's something that I'm looking forward to watching, and that is going to be the first film I'll be watching today. Then there'll be a slew of stuff that I'll be watching tomorrow. But yeah, I'll be doing kind of like daily diaries on the YouTube channel. And maybe what I'm thinking of doing is that I will kind of every week I will put those diaries together, or I'll split them up and I'll release them in podcast format so that you'll hear kind of my thoughts and takeaways from the movies I'm seeing every week. And when the official festival starts on the 29th, that's when more of the major slates will be available for press to cover. So I'll be watching movies like, May, December, Priscilla, all that stuff. And we'll get into that the more and more you hear me talk about the festival moving forward. But every year, there's always 10 movies. I hate like clumping it down to just 10 because there's always more movies I'm looking forward to watching every year. But for this sake, I put together a list of 10 movies that I'm truly, truly looking forward to catching this year at New York Film Festival. And I can't wait to talk about once I see them, because these are, again, my most anticipated movies this year. So I figured, let me run down what those films are. So, whether you're listening or watching on YouTube, what movies I'm looking forward to the most this year. And again, there are a lot more stuff outside of this list that I'm looking forward to, but these are the ones that personally I'm looking forward to most. And I'm going to say these like in no particular order and all that. So the first one that I'm looking forward to is called Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall is the winner of this year's Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival. It's Justine Triet's drama about a famous novelist played by Tony Erdmans, Sandra Hüller, accused of killing her husband after his body has fallen from a high window at their home in the French Alps. It's a riveting procedural and a delicate inquiry into the impossibility of ultimate truth in people's relationships. So one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to this is, of course, it's the Palme d'Or winner. And every time there is that is the main prize of Cannes. And that's the one that every year people are looking forward to watching. Last year, it was Triangle of Sadness, which I was super excited to watch. And when I did finally watch it, I was thrilled. It was literally, I think, one of my top 10 movies last year. I really, really enjoyed that movie a lot. And so, of course, I'm very super curious as to Anatomy of a Fall and how well that movie is going to be. I've heard nothing but great things coming out of Cannes and the other festivals where this movie has screened at. So this is definitely one of the movies I'm highly looking forward to catching. The next movie on my list here is Ferrari. I love Michael Mann and I love the movies he does. So this is a movie that I'm definitely looking forward to. And we haven't gotten really a Michael Mann movie in a while. I can't remember the last time we saw a Michael Mann movie. So let me pull this up real quick here. The last movie that I believe we got Michael Mann-wise was, hold on, as I pull this up. Oh my God, this is crazy. Okay, Black Hat. Yeah, Black Hat was the last time we got a Michael Mann movie, and that starred Liam Hemsworth. Liam? Was it Liam or was it Chris? No, it was Chris. Chris Hemsworth, Black Hat. And then before that, I believe it was Miami Vice. Oh no, I'm sorry. Public Enemies was the one that came out before that with Johnny Depp. But yeah, anytime. Obviously, Michael Mann is well known for his movie Heat, which is held in a lot of people's regards as one of the best movies with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. First time they did a movie together. And of course, Val Kilmer's in that movie too. Of course, a lot of people also say The Last of the Mohicans back in 92. But yeah, this is Michael Mann. So he brings his astonishing command of technique and storytelling to bear on his thrilling new film, an emotional, elegantly crafted dramatization of the life of the legendary car manufacturer and entrepreneur Enzo Ferrari at a professional and personal fulcrum, starring Adam Driver and Penelope Cruz. So yeah, I mean, Adam Driver, once again portraying a well-known Italian person, is one of the things that intrigues me the most here. But it just looks amazing, and it looks very, very intriguing when they released like the teaser trailer that came out a couple of weeks ago. So I'm very, very curious as to Michael Mann's spin on this well-known individual in automobile history. And of course, I'm looking forward to a commanding performance by Adam Driver, who is no stranger to New York Film Festival. Last year, he was there with White Noise. That movie that came out last year. And I thought he was really good in that movie. So I'm really looking forward to what he's going to bring this year with Ferrari. Next on the list, I am a huge fan of Sofia Coppola. Lost in Translation to this day remains my top 3 favorite movies of all time. That movie will always be forever in my heart. She is one of those kind of like indie darlings, and she is also very well known in doing movies that really revolve around a strong feminine, female personality. And with Priscilla, that looks like it's going to be another one of these like great opuses to a very strong female presence. So Priscilla, Sofia Coppola, who in her remarkable filmography has so often returned to intimate portraits of women living complicated lives behind closed doors, has found a subject exquisitely tailored to her interests in Priscilla Presley, whose love affair and marriage to Elvis kept her in the public eye before she had truly experienced the world. A lot of great buzz around this movie when I believe it screened at TIFF and Telluride or Venice, I think it was. But yeah, after hearing about it, obviously I am so intrigued and I'm curious, and I have to check this movie out. So that's one of the main reasons why it's on my list here of most anticipated. Next is a movie that wasn't on my radar until I heard people who screened it at TIFF. I heard people walked out. I heard people were confused. I heard people were elated. And I just heard we get a movie every year that splits the audience and that causes a lot of controversy, that causes a lot of like intrigue and confusion and all that stuff. I think Triangle of Sadness was one of those movies last year, but Aggro Drift is a movie this year that could be along that same lines. When it screamed, like I said, I was following people on Twitter, or X, I should say, and people just were all over the place with this movie. So I have to see it. So I'm glad that it's going to be at New York Film Festival this year. Harmony Korine's hallucinatory trance film, shot entirely in retina scorching infrared and set to an intoxicating Arab music score, cast Jordi Moda and rapper Travis Scott in a feverish, transporting action movie miasma of skulls and swords, masks and machine guns, strippers and mobsters, horned demons and hot cars. It's going to be preceded by David Cronenberg's For Unloved Women, adrift on a purposeless sea, experience the ecstasy of dissection. And again, I'm reading these descriptions from the official New York Film Festival website, but it just sounds like this is going to be like one of those banana scenarios, banana movie experiences that I'm totally all in on. So who knows? I may end up hating it, but it's going to be a thrill ride, I'm sure, an experience to go through. Next on my list is Maestro. Maestro, a tour de force for director and star Bradley Cooper. Maestro dramatizes the public and private lives of legendary musician Leonard Bernstein with sensitivity, visual ingenuity, and symphonic splendor, depicting the complicated yet devoted, decades-spanning relationship between Leonard and his wife Felicia, who is played by Carey Mulligan. I think Bradley Cooper is a great director. A Star is Born, of course, is a great movie. Regardless of the unfortunate experience I had when I watched it, again, those of you who are familiar with myself and heard me tell the stories of watching A Star is Born in the theater on the podcast or on YouTube know what I went through. But that being said, I still think he is a great director. It's interesting that we are getting another movie based off of a famous conductor and musician at this year's festival, because last year we got Tar, who with Cate Blanchett, which I loved. So it's interesting that we're getting another movie like that. But of course, this is, more of a biopic on Leonard Bernstein's life and career, and more importantly, the relationship he's had with his wife Felicia. So I am so looking forward to this. The trailer blew my mind. It looks very emotional and very cinematic. So, and you can tell Bradley Cooper has that love for cinema, like old-fashioned cinema. And it looks like he is using a lot of that passion in filmmaking in this film. So I'm very much looking forward to how that's going to be portrayed there with his movie Maestro. Next on my list is Evil Does Not Exist. This is, I'll read the description here. In his potent and foreboding new film, Oscar-winning director Ryusuke Hamaguchi of Drive My Car reconstitutes the boundaries of the eco-political thriller with the tale of a serene rural village that's about to be disrupted by the construction of a glamping site for Tokyo tourists. I am a huge fan of Ryusuke Hamaguchi. Drive My Car, when that came out in, I believe it was 2021. Let me fact check myself. See, it's funny. I don't have Blake here, who constantly loves to fact check me every chance he gets. Yes, 2021. When that movie came out in 2021, I saw it at a screening. I believe it was at MoMI, Museum of Moving Image. Once that screening ended, I knew immediately that was my favorite film of that year. And to this day, it still holds true. I said to myself, when that movie comes out, and during Oscar season, it is going to not only be nominated, but I am for damn sure it's going to win at least foreign film. And lo and behold, it did, right? Did it win foreign film? Okay, let me fact check myself once again. This would, you'll get a glimpse of what Blake would have been doing if he was here. But yes, it won Best International Feature Film, which it very much well deserved. And I've known of this director for a while now. I think my first exposure to him was back in 2015 when I saw the movie Happy Hour, which is a wonderful movie about four women and their friendship and how friendships mature as people grow up and get older. And one thing that was amazing about this movie is because it's a 5-hour freaking movie, 5 hour and 17 minutes that they split into two parts. I believe when it was officially released digitally. I think they split into 2 or 4 parts. But I saw it at MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. And I sat there for the whole 5 hours. And I was glued to it during the whole time. It was a brilliant portrayal of females and their relationships and how it could go well and go bad and all that stuff. And, you know, if you are in a friend group, you understand how those relationships and connections and chemistry can sour very easily, but also flourish depending on situations and all that. Especially once you get older, you know, when time passes. So I love that movie. So immediately this director was on my radar ever since I saw that movie. And again, Drive My Car, brilliant film. So Evil Does Not Exist really, really fascinates me, especially since it's kind of like a thriller in a sense. And one thing you have to understand about Japan, which I myself am, you could kind of say I'm familiar with because I've been there many times. I have a lot of friends there, and I've visited again numerous times, and I explored a lot of the country so far. They have fascinations with new trends and new ideas to attract tourists. And I'm not talking about foreign tourists. I'm talking about just tourism in general within the country. And what they do is that they love taking ideas that they see from other countries, especially here in America. And as you know, here in America, we went through a time, I don't hear too many people talking about it these days, but glamping was like a huge thing for a while. And then I remember when they started picking that up in Japan, that became like the new trend, like the new hot thing. So a lot of like areas in Japan were starting to install like glamping sites and glamping experiences, right? And one thing you should know about Japanese people is that they love nature. So this idea of luxurious nature expedition, of course, Japanese people will find very intriguing, right? I think for us Americans is because we just can't live without a real bed with the idea of camping and all that, you know, and the amenities and all that stuff. So I'm so curious as to how he puts that together with his way of storytelling. So I'm really curious about this movie, and that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to this when it comes out, when I have a chance to see it. Next on my list is actually a short film called Strange Way of Life. It's Almodovar's dazzling new short, which is an unexpected hyper male Western melodrama of vivid colors and explosive homoeroticism, starring Ethan Hawke as a small town sheriff who, after 25 years, rekindles a sexual relationship with a former lover played by Pedro Pascal. If you don't understand why I am so looking forward to checking this out, just based off of that description alone, then you don't know me and you don't know what you're talking about. Now, I'm personally not familiar with Almodovar at all, but after hearing about this, I am very intrigued to kind of use this as my gateway to this person's filmography. But the major thing that intrigues me here is Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal in a very like Brokeback Mountain type of storyline. And I am just, when I saw the trailer for this, yes, it's very colorful. It's very, the cinematography is very, very, poppy, but it looks very intriguing, and you have these two extremely good actors on the screen together playing lovers. Oh my God, forget it. I am so into this. I can't wait to check this out. So it's on my list 100%. Next on my list is Ryuichi Sakamoto Opus, As a final gift to Ryuichi Sakamoto's legions of fans, filmmaker Neo Sora, who is Sakamoto's son, has constructed a gorgeous eulogy starring Sakamoto himself in one of his final performances, an intimate, melancholy, and achingly beautiful one-man show recorded in late 2020 at NHK Studios in Tokyo. Again, those of you who know me know that I am a huge fan of Ryuichi Sakamoto. He is known for doing a lot of beautiful movie soundtracks. One of them you should know about is definitely the soundtrack he did for The Revenant. You know, the score is very haunting, very, very pleasant. It's just so many things to describe it. And I'm also a huge fan of his band that he was a part of in the 80s called Yellow Magic Orchestra, which is kind of like a more techno pop type band. And I remember the first time I heard YMO, as they are well known as, I said immediately, this is the sound that I love. I love this sound. And that's basically where he was, known for. That was his debut. And when I go to Japan and people ask me, oh, what's your favorite Japanese artist? And when I say YMO and Ryuichi Sakamoto, their eyes lighten up. I was like, oh my God. Well, first of all, they're like, wow, you're old, because that's like in the 80s, right? Early 80s. So they immediately, I kind of give away my age there. But, also he is well loved and well revered in Japan as kind of like a innovator for that type of sound and for, scoring in general. So one of my kind of regrets is I never got to see him perform live. I've seen him live because another film festival I usually go to is Japan Cuts. That takes place during the summer here in New York every year, which is a showcase of kind of new and indie Japanese film. And Sakamoto-san, he lives in New York, so he would frequent this festival often. So I would just see him like walking in and just sitting in the audience watching a movie. And one year he even introduced a movie, one of the feature films of that year. So I had a chance to see him go on stage and speak and all that. So it's one of those things where I was so happy just to be in his presence there, but I just wish I had a chance to see him perform. So having a chance to finally see his final performance on film in a kind of documentary style by his own son, I think is going to be extremely exciting to watch. And I can't wait to check it out. Next on my list is The Boy and the Heron. Now, this is one of those animated films from Studio Ghibli that I haven't been excited for in a very long time. Of course, Studio Ghibli films I get excited for, but the reason why I was so excited for this is because this was supposed to be the major farewell by Miyazaki himself, Hayao Miyazaki, who helped create Studio Ghibli, who formed it, put it on the map. This was his kind of farewell. Now, in recent months, he's kind of said like, well, I may do another film, because I think it's one of those like Hercule Poirot moments, like I mentioned earlier in the episode. He got a sense of how it was to make a film again, and I think he just has that passion. It kind of reinvigorated him. But this was supposed to be his swan song. Another thing that really intrigued me about this is when it came out in Japan earlier this year, there was no marketing involved, no trailer released, no press material was put out, no images from the film itself was released and put on social media or anything like that. Just an image that was like a rough sketch and a date. And if you're a fan of Hayao Miyazaki and if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli in Japan, you knew this date. So you knew that at that time, when it was released in theaters, that's when you would go to check out this new film. And you were going in it fresh. The balls and guts to actually put a film out there by a well-known director, animator, legend. without any PR behind it is intriguing and fascinating to me, and I wish people would do that more often. You know, I've spoken about how amazing it would be if, let's say, just out of the blue, you know, you hear that, oh, Scorsese is releasing his brand new movie next week. Check it out. It's called, I don't know, Gangs of Casinos. Or Taika Waititi's brand new movie out next week called so-and-so. You know, could you imagine, like, you know, a brand new Marvel film? Guess what? It's coming out tomorrow. Enjoy. Talking about event films, right? Talking about like creating event moments. I wish Hollywood would have the guts to do that more, but I feel like there's always that incessant need to promote and market and all that stuff like that and put it out there, you know, because they're afraid that if there's no trailers, no one's going to check it out. Guess what? People in Japan checked this movie out. You know, it did extremely well opening weekend. So I went into this. Now, because it is coming out here in America, of course, trailers have been released. Photos have been released. I have not, to this day, seen a single photo or watched a single trailer because I refuse. I'm going to go into this fresh as it was initially intended for the Japanese audience. So I'm going into this extremely excited to check it out this way. But according to the website, The Boy and the Heron. While the Second World War rages, the teenage Mahito, haunted by his mother's tragic death, is relocated from Tokyo to the serene rural home of his new stepmother. As he tries to adjust, this strange new world grows even stranger. This is the first film in a decade from Hayao Miyazaki. It is a ravishing, endlessly inventive fantasy that is destined to be ranked with the legendary animator's finest and boldest works. That right there is the most I've known of this movie this whole time. I hate the fact that I read it, but still, I don't really know much about what's going on. So I'm very much looking forward to checking this out when it comes out. Now, last on my list, and the one that I am so much looking forward to catching, and this, you know, when this trailer came out, I was extremely all in and intrigued by it all. And that is Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things. Poor Things is, in his boldest vision yet, iconoclast auteur Yorgos Lanthimos creates a punkish update of the Frankenstein story set in an alternate 19th century on the cusp of technology breakthrough, in which a peculiar childlike woman named Bella, played by Emma Stone, embarks on a journey of self-actualization. Now, if you saw me react to that initial trailer that we got, I went through a mix of emotions. I didn't know what was going on. I loved the visualizations of everything. I've always been a fan of Emma Stone. You know, Willem Dafoe's in it. I believe he plays the scientist who creates her. You know, you have Mark Ruffalo in this movie. It just looks extremely intriguing and just visually stunning. You know, so when I saw this initial trailer, I was just like, I have to see this movie. You know, and it was very obvious that they were going towards a new telling of, you know, Frankenstein, but with a bold twist that only Yorgos Lanthimos can do. And because of that, I just have to check this out, and I cannot wait. And that is my most anticipated film at this year's New York Film Festival. So that's my list of the top 10 films. I'm curious, out of all of these films that I've mentioned, and again, this is just 10 of them. There are other movies that I'll be checking out that I am so looking forward to watching. Out of these 10, which one stands out to you the most? Let us know, obviously, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on podcast format here. But yeah, that being said, that has been this week's episode of Movie Time. Thank you so much for watching. Again, stay tuned to this channel for my film festival updates, my diaries, my recaps, things that I have experienced, movies that I have experienced, and all that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet, so you could see visualizations and videos of my time at the festival, and of course clips from this episode and other episodes of Movie Time. You could find them there. Also, that's one of the fastest ways you could probably see reviews of movies that I've just watched. And also, if you want to see me talk about other things pop culture related, some news stuff that I'm trying also to incorporate here on the podcast channel more and more so. Best way to see a lot of that stuff is on YouTube there. So definitely check out YouTube, subscribe there. Also, you will find me on Letterboxd, where I log all the movies I watch throughout the year, and that's also another fast way you'll find my opinions of movies that I watch for the first time when they're newly released and all that. So check us out: LOWKEYGEEK, Letterboxd, X, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Make sure you also follow Blake. All the descriptions are in the all the links, I should say, are in the description of this episode. Also, if you want to if you want to further support this channel, check out our affiliate partners. Some of those that I mentioned: 80stees.com, Fever. You could find that stuff. Bulletproof Coffee. A lot of people have signed up for Bulletproof Coffee, so I hope you're enjoying them as much as I enjoy them. I'm drinking them right now, which reminds me I'm thirsty. But I enjoy their products. I'm taking this very interesting apple cider vinegar gummy for nutritional reasons every day that they put together. It's so tasty and it's very good. And I feel like it's giving me like better gut health overall. So definitely check that stuff out. Like I said, like Bulletproof, it's not just coffee. Like they have a lot of healthy supplements and stuff that you could do and add to your daily and weekly diets and all that. So definitely check that out. And lastly, but not least, check out the merch shop that we launched, popculture.shop. Buy a sticker, buy a shirt. You'll be seeing the Movie Time merchandise on there shortly. Just been, busy trying to iron out a lot of things and get that stuff going there. So another great way to help support the channel grow and all that. And like I said, I will be announcing membership tiers on Patreon that you could sign up for even as little as $2. That's what I'm planning for, to help support us on a monthly basis. And yeah, you'll get some perks out of it too. I'm just slowly ironing that stuff out so that we can show how much it'll be worth your while, outside, of course, of just helping support this channel go on and move forward and all that. So again, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much again for tuning in to this episode of Movie Time. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Catch you all next week and in the next one. All right, peace out, everybody. Remember, new episodes of Movie Time will be launching every week on Sundays. Mark your calendars and all that good stuff. But until then, peace out. Bye-bye.